Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Spurs Up Show, the best Gamecocks podcast on the internet. Today is Thursday, November the 26th, 2020. On today's show, I break down Saturday's game. Can the Gamecocks do the unthinkable yet again and shock the college football world as South Carolina welcomes the Georgia Bulldogs to Williams-Brice Stadium? I'll break down the Dogs in their entirety. Also give you guys top storylines, key matchups to watch, keys to the game, much, much more as South Carolina gets set to do battle against Georgia. Also, your listener questions, voicemails, and we do have a fantastic conversation. John Strickland, former Gamecocks offensive lineman. If you guys remember, he was on the show about a year ago to the date. He comes on, though, talks to me more so about the current coaching search, the Letterman call that was this past Saturday, what he wants to see from the next head football coach. We also throw some names back and forth, talk about the current top names for the Gamecocks. Who will be the Gamecocks' next head football coach? John joins me to try to sort through the madness that is the coaching search right now, guys. So sit back, relax, enjoy. It's all brought to you by our friends over at Upstate Movers Group. Guys, Upstate Movers Group, superior moving service. They bring care and attention other companies can't offer because they're just too busy maintaining trucks and profiting off of them instead of focusing on service. Guys, service is what separates Upstate Movers Group from the competition. So they're not a trucking company. They are a moving services company, and they're employee-owned co-op. So their movers are paid twice the industry average, and everyone on the crew is just as invested in the success of the project as you are. They have dedicated professional crew members, and they offer black glove service. They offer end-to-end packing services, custom crating and packaging for special items, and cleaning services as well. They are founded by Greenville natives and University of South Carolina alumni, guys, so a Gamecock-owned small business. They also offer 20 years of project management and moving experience, and they can offer logistics and solutions that traditional moving companies simply do not have the skills for. Guys, whether you're in the upstate, you're in the state of South Carolina, for all of your moving needs, be sure to contact my friends over at Upstate Movers Group. You can find them on social media at Upstate Movers Group, and of course their website, upstatemoversgroup.com. That is upstatemoversgroup.com. The show is also brought to you by our friends over at Southern Oaks Remodeling. Guys, Southern Oaks Remodeling, locally and family owned, over 15 years of experience. They specialize in roofing, windows, doors, siding, and additions, and they're serving the greater Columbia area. Oh, by the way, guys, another Gamecock-owned small business. So Gamecocks helping Gamecocks. We're all about that here on the Spurs Up Show, guys. Again, it is the holiday season. It's the perfect time. If you have any remodeling project in mind, no matter what it is, again, they do roofing, windows, doors, siding, additions. They can do literally anything and everything for you. And the people and the service is what separates them from their competition, guys. Again, over 15 years of experience, so you know they're going to take care of you, locally and family owned, and you can feel that difference when you talk to Southern Oaks Remodeling as well. You can check them out via social media, Instagram, Facebook, everywhere. They also have their website, but give them a call today if you have any questions. 803-899-0284. Again, that's 803-899-0284. Give them a call and tell them Chris from the Spurs Up Show sent you. Let's get it. Guys, I'm Chris Phillips, host of the Spurs Up Show. As always, guys, let me be the first, if nobody has done so yet, to wish you a very, very happy Thanksgiving to you and yours. Hope you're all having a fantastic day. And if you're taking time out of your Thanksgiving, by the way, to tune in to hear the sound of my voice, I truly do appreciate you. Thank you guys so much. Hope you're all, again, having a fantastic Thanksgiving, getting your fill in regards to food, football, and family. I know I'm really excited to eat some Thanksgiving turkey, some Thanksgiving ham. I do love some sweet potato as well. Oh, I can't wait. The stuffing, the dressing, whatever you call it, whatever your family has. Again, happy Thanksgiving to you and yours. But hey, you know what? It is a holiday. You say, Chris, why don't we take the day off? It's still Georgia week, baby. We still got to talk about the Dogs as the Gamecocks try to pull another big upset, do the unthinkable. Can South Carolina do it yet again? But again, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I will say on this Thanksgiving, and again, happy Thanksgiving to you and yours and to everyone around you. Wish you nothing all but happiness, health, safety, all that good stuff. And I will say on this Thanksgiving, we all talk about at Thanksgiving what we're thankful for. I am very, very thankful for each and every one of you. The Spurs Up Show has the best fans in the entire world, guys. Thank you guys so much for the continuous love, support, you guys sharing the content, consuming the content. Again, thank you guys. A major thank you so much to all of you that take the time to tune in each and every single day. And you guys truly make it a joy to do this. And with that being said, I'm very, very excited because, again, it is rivalry week, quote unquote, in a sense. Now, normally this is supposed to be when South Carolina would take on the Clemson Tigers. But, hey, if you can't play Clemson, this is your second best option right here, guys. I mean, taking on the Georgia Bulldogs. Georgia, a team that I absolutely loathe and hate with a passion. Can't wait to talk about it. Again, Gamecocks taking on the Dogs this Saturday. Let's dive into it. 7:30 kickoff at Williams-Brice on the SEC Network. We've already talked yesterday. The best bet, Georgia, a 20.5-point favorite in this one. The over-under set at 49.5. The series history, Georgia leads 51-19-2. And the last time they met, guys, last year, who can forget the 20-17 South Carolina win? I would argue probably the biggest upset win in school history. You know, I talked about that line too, Georgia being a 20.5-point favorite. If you remember correctly, Georgia was a 24.5-point favorite last year. So, hey, you never know. We always say Vegas knows. Georgia, South Carolina is one of those games where it feels like it's a true rivalry game in the sense you can truly throw the records, all the stats out the window when these two teams get on the field. So we'll see if it happens again. Breaking on the Dogs, Kirby Smart, obviously their head coach. Georgia right now, 5-2 overall, losses to Florida and Bama. They currently sit 9th in the college football playoff rankings that were just released on Tuesday night. Some really interesting stats regarding the Dogs, and most of them come around the defensive side of the ball because, listen, Georgia defensively, I think, and I've said this even in the preseason, I think they're one of the best defenses in the entire country. Allowing just 2.5 yards per carry, which is an elite number. Now, granted, they are allowing 275 yards per game passing, 275 yards per game through the air, but just 2.5 yards per rush. It'd be interesting to see because something's got to give. We know South Carolina's going to try to run the football. Can they do it? Also, Georgia has done a really, really good job getting to the quarterback. 20 sacks on the season for the Bulldogs. Can the Gamecocks keep their quarterback upright? And as we move into top storylines, that's where I begin. The top storylines for me, and definitely the top storyline and the thing we're all looking forward to going into this game, QB1. Who is QB1? Does the true freshman Luke Doty get the first start of his Gamecocks career? Now, Mike Bobo has not come out and said who the starter is. Mike Bobo has said, we know who the starting quarterback is. We're going to keep it in-house, keep it behind closed doors. That, to me, screams that Luke Doty will be the starter. Because, listen, if Colin Hill was going to be your starter, why wouldn't you just say it? You know, why wouldn't you just say Colin Hill is our guy and go from there? So I'm rolling with, I think Luke Doty is going to be the guy. I think Luke Doty is going to be QB1, and I think fans are probably going to riot and revolt if Colin Hill goes out there to take the opening snaps in this football game. And no, QB1, the quarterback position, you know, it was crazy. Again, I was in the stadium last week watching the Gamecocks take on Missouri, and we all know how that first half went. You had 68 total yards of offense, couldn't get anything going. Colin Hill is, you know, has no time to throw, and he can't get out of the pocket. He has no elusiveness whatsoever. Inserting Luke Doty in that football game, bringing just a whole new spark, not just to the offense, but to the entire team as well. What can he do on Saturday if he is indeed the starting quarterback, which, again, I think he will be? I think Luke Doty certainly provides a spark, a sense of energy. I know certainly I'll be sitting up in my seat more so than I normally would if Luke Doty's in the football game. But you think to yourself, man, this true freshman going to get his first career start against Georgia. And I thought Alex McGrath earlier this week made a fantastic point, though, when I said, man, I really hate that's going to be Luke Doty's first start. His response was, you know who doesn't hate it? Luke Doty. This is what you grow up dreaming about. To get a start in a game like this. You're in the backyard as a kid saying, I'm starting against the Georgia Bulldogs and the Gamecocks starting quarterback. Like, this is what you dream about. This is what Luke Doty was envisioning a year ago when he's at Myrtle Beach High School. So, who gets the start at quarterback? And if it is Luke Doty, what can he do for South Carolina? What type of spark can he provide the Gamecocks offensively? Because, again, you're obviously going in this one down your best playmaker in Shi Smith. Yes, you have Kevin Harris, but the options outside are very limited, which I think provides more reason why Luke Doty should be the starter. You're going to have to be creative offensively. And again, we all understand the task at hand with South Carolina going up against that Georgia defense, which I think, again, one of the best in the entire country. So having a guy like Luke Doty in there, I think, guys, is an absolute must. I think it's a must. And again, it will be really interesting to see. Does that leak Friday, late Friday? Do we hear anything Saturday before the game? I'll be really, really interested to see because Mike Bobo said that they know who the starter is. Like I said earlier, they know who it is. They said the starter took all of the first team reps on Tuesday. Who is that guy? Going to be very interesting to see who trots out there for South Carolina. Sticking with the quarterback position, another top storyline in this football game. You look at the Georgia side of things, the insertion of J.T. Daniels for the University of Georgia. Finally gets some action last week. The former Southern Cal Trojan, former five-star quarterback recruit. All he does is come in for Georgia last week and throw for 400 yards. I think he threw for 4 or 5 touchdowns, had an incredible game against Mississippi State. Can South Carolina defensively, again, you put up a valiant effort last week against the Missouri Tigers, but this is a different animal. This is a different beast. Can South Carolina's defensive backs and their defense as a whole withstand this Georgia attack? Again, you still got Zamir White, who's a fantastic running back. I know Georgia didn't run the football very well last week, but you know Georgia teams are built. That backbone is the running game. No question. And then you got J.T. Daniels now, who averaged over 10 yards per completion last week. Can South Carolina's defense hold up and withstand that Georgia attack? Because, again, I think J.T. Daniels has been the best quarterback on the roster all season long. I don't know what took Georgia so long to get him in there in place of Stetson Bennett. I think the whole Stetson Bennett thing was a fantastic story. The kid being a walk-on or whatever and getting his shot and reminded us very much of Perry Orth. But, J.T. Daniels was a 5-star quarterback for a reason. So I'm surprised it took him this long to get him in. But, again, can South Carolina – because your defense is going to have to give you a valiant effort to have a chance in this football game. Kind of something similar to last year where you're able to get the ball off of Georgia 3-4 times and give yourself a chance to win. So what type of game does J.T. Daniels have in his second game for Georgia? And can South Carolina defensively maybe cause some problems for him? And again, that leads me to my next storyline, which is, again, the young secondary. Like I said, your guys really fought, scratched, and clawed last week. I thought they really, stepped up to the plate and gave it all they could. And I thought you saw guys like Cam Smith play well, Johnny Dixon play well, Jamie Robinson play well. I thought you saw some of these young guys for South Carolina really step up their game. But this is a different animal. Georgia's a different animal. Is the young secondary for South Carolina ready to go against the Dogs? George Pickens, one of the best receivers in the entire country. Jermaine Burton, Kyrus Jackson, those two guys are actually leading Pickens. James Cook, Demetrius Robinson, Trey McKitty, they have weapons on the outside at Georgia. They've obviously recruited extremely well. Can those young defensive backs, again, no JC, no Izzy. We all remember Izzy's game last year against the Dogs in Athens, his signature game. Can your young secondary hold up in this football game? Another big storyline for South Carolina, Kevin Harris, the chase to 1,000 yards. Kevin Harris now at 875 total yards. Is this the game that Kevin hits it? I'd love to see it. Obviously, we all would. Gamecocks haven't had a 1,000-yard rusher since 2014 when Mike Davis did it. Obviously did not have his best game last game. Neither did the entire offense. It was tough sledding for the entire Gamecocks offense last week against Mizzou. Is this the game that Kevin Harris breaks that 1,000-yard mark? Again, South Carolina's going to have to lean on him. You're going to have to lean on Kevin Harris. I told you guys before the season, I didn't think there would be a game that South Carolina won this year where they don't rush for over 100 yards. Getting Kevin Harris going, as we all know, is an absolute must. And again, I'll be really excited to see, like I said, 875 yards, just 125 away from 1,000. Is this the game? Is this the game that Kevin Harris gets the job done? We'll see. Another big storyline here and a crazy stat going in this game, by the way. The night game woes for South Carolina this year, and it's so ironic and almost like cruel and unusual punishment that the year that fans can't really go to games is the year South Carolina's had all these night games. This is the 6th night game of the season. I mean, it's crazy. The Gamecocks are 0-5 in night games. I don't know what the deal has been in night games for South Carolina, but they have not fared well. And then you look at this Georgia game, and obviously we all know that the task at hand, the challenge. Can South Carolina somehow, some way snap out of this funk that they have going on in night games? I just think it's crazy how bad they've been under the lights. Whether it be at Willie B, whether it be on the road, hasn't mattered. So will the night game woes continue on Saturday night? Another top storyline, and it focuses on the health, and I would say more so the availability on South Carolina's roster, because right now it's a banged up bunch of Gamecocks. I mean, you have got a ton of defensive players out, whether it be from opt-out injuries. Then you have Shi Smith go down with a concussion. You know, you hear Mike Bobo talk about Nick Muse is banged up. You know, Jalen Brooks is banged up. This guy, that guy. It's just like, holy smokes. How do the Gamecocks even have enough to field a team? How is it even possible? So what does the roster, honestly, what does the roster look like Saturday night? Who's available? Who's not available? Will South Carolina have enough to go and make a game of it? I mean, hey, all we need is 22, but damn, you need some depth. And South Carolina is feeling very, very thin right now. So it is a banged up bunch of Gamecocks for sure. Finally, guys, before we move into key matchups, my last storyline, and one of the top storylines, of course, is this. We all know what happened last year. We all know what happened. You know, South Carolina going to Athens, nobody thought you would win. I remember saying last year, I felt strangely optimistic going into that game. And I don't know why I did, but I did. I felt weirdly optimistic. And, you know, my best bet last year, I remember specifically, was South Carolina plus 24.5. I was like, you know what? I think South Carolina will go toe-to-toe. They'll battle. They'll make a game of it. And, of course, nobody saw what happened on the field. You know, Izzy McQuamu's 3-interception game, taking them down to the wire, going to overtime, and winning 20-17. And my final storyline, and one of the top storylines, is this. Can South Carolina simply do the unthinkable yet again? Is it possible? Is it probable? No. But is it possible? Again, everything is going against you in this football game. You fired your head coach. You have questions at the quarterback position. Even though you feel like there's upside with Luke Doty, you still have questions. You're probably going to be starting a true freshman quarterback against Georgia's defense. You don't have your top weapon on the outside. You're banged up on the defensive side. Everything's going against you in this football game. But it's like I told you guys earlier, this is a rivalry game, whether Georgia fans want to admit that or not, which I don't see why they wouldn't admit that. But this is a rivalry game. Okay? When these two teams get on the field, you throw out all the stats, you throw out the records. It's weird how close these games normally are. It doesn't matter the type of seasons that Georgia and or South Carolina have. This game is always close. And I think for a lot of South Carolina fans, that's where they're going to draw their sense of hope and optimism from. Because, again, you look at this matchup on paper, it is not favorable. I mean, there's no getting around that. It's not a favorable matchup for South Carolina in any capacity. But, again, when it's South Carolina, Georgia, you just simply never know. Can the Gamecocks put together their best performance of this 2020 season? Because, again, nothing would tickle me more or tickle any of you more than to ruin Georgia's season. 100% would be nothing better than to ruin Georgia's season. Because obviously the Dogs right now still fighting to maybe get to Atlanta, fighting to maybe get in the playoff, to just squash those dreams and ruin those hopes for the second year in a row, I might add you. Oh, there'd be nothing sweeter. So again, can South Carolina do the unthinkable yet again? We'll see. All right, let's dive into key matchups to watch, guys. My key matchups to watch, and they're presented to you by our friends over at Yardware. Today's show is brought to you by Yardware as well. Guys, Yardware is a veteran-owned and operating company licensed by the University of South Carolina. selling must-have Carolina yard and wall signs. Guys, these signs are made out of 12-gauge laser-cut steel, and they come in both garnet and black. Football season's in full swing. Christmas is right around the corner, guys. These are a must-have for any Gamecock fan. If you haven't seen, also, by the way, we are doing a giveaway, a Yardwear Signs giveaway on Instagram and Facebook. Rules to be eligible are on those respective social media sites, but we are giving away a free sign. So again, if you have not done so, if you have not participated, be sure to do that. But hey, go buy yourself a sign, whether it be yourself, your family member, your friend, whatever, guys. This is the perfect gift for any Gamecock fan. Obviously, I've got mine in my studio. You guys have seen it a ton. These things are absolutely awesome. The detail, the quality, they really stand out. I mean, it's a phenomenal piece. There's just really no other way to put it. And you can put it anywhere. Your yard, your studio, your office, your man cave, your garage, your living room, dining room, bedroom, wherever. It's a must-have. It is an absolute must-have. Guys, check them out on social media at Yardwear Signs. That's at Yardwear Signs. And you can order your sign today, yardwearsigns.com. That is yardwearsigns.com. All right, let's dive into these key matches to watch, guys. I've been talking a lot about quarterbacks. We're going to start at the quarterback position because I think Luke Doty is going to get the start. I think Luke Doty is going to play, if not all the snaps, the majority of the snaps. I think he should play all the snaps. I'm sure you think he should play all the snaps. You never know what Mike Bobo is going to do. But my first key matchup is going to center around Luke Doty because, again, Luke Doty is going to be a major factor in this football game. And my first key matchup is quarterback Luke Doty against linebacker Azeez Ojulari. Azeez Ojulari for the Dogs has been an absolute menace on the defensive side. 7.5 tackles for loss, 4.5 sacks. He's done a fantastic job for Georgia, just being a disruptor, flat out. Luke Doty's athleticism and his legs is going to be a huge difference maker in this football game. You know, we saw last week 3 or 4 separate times Luke Doty back there, a play that with any other quarterback on the roster in the game would have been a sack, would have been a negative play. Luke Doty's able to make a guy miss, get up the field for 8 yards, get up the field for 12 yards, 17 yards, whatever it is. Luke Doty's athleticism going against a guy like Azeez Ojulari and really that entire Georgia defense. Can Luke Doty do enough with his legs? Because, again, he can throw the football. We know the kid's got a good arm, but I think his legs are going to be the difference in this one. Can Luke Doty do enough in regards to his escapability, his athleticism to give South Carolina a chance offensively? Let's move to our second key matchup. Linebacker Ernest Jones against running back Zamir White. Guys, it's Georgia. Okay, we can talk about JT Daniels and the passing game and this and that, but the backbone of Georgia for years and years, and probably will continue to be, is the stable of running backs they offer. Zamir White, no exception to that. 530 yards, 7 touchdowns for Zamir. Obviously, we know what Ernest Jones has done on the South Carolina side of things. The leader on your defense. Vocally, does it by example as well. The way he plays the game, plays every play like it's his last. Ernest Jones is going to need to be that run stopper for South Carolina. Because, listen, here's the thing. It's going to be a tall task either way, but you got to make Georgia one-dimensional. You got to take something away. You either got to take away the running game or you got to take away the passing game. You can't let them do both, okay? You cannot let them do both. So a guy like Ernest Jones is going to be a major, major factor in this football game going up against Zamir White in regards to stopping the running game. My final key matchup, we move off the field to the coaching side of things. Because the coaching side of things in this one is a very interesting storyline indeed, and it's because you have 2 former Georgia alumni going at it. And that is Gamecocks interim head coach Mike Bobo against Georgia head coach Kirby Smart. Against both Georgia alums. You know, one's an offensive guy in Bobo, one's a defensive guy in Smart. What is the game plan like? I think it's going to be awesome to watch the chess match. I think it's going to be really, really fun to watch the chess match. What does Mike Bobo scheme up? He's done such a good – I mean, Mike Bobo has literally squeezed blood out of a rock this year. You know, I'm critical of him at times. You know, I've said things about my opinions as far as do I want to see him kept on staff for South Carolina. You know, Bobo's done a good job, though. Bobo has done a really, really good job, and he's a really smart offensive football coach. And then you have Kirby, of course, on the other side, a defensive-minded guy. I say he's Will Muschamp with a better roster. That's just my opinion, but Kirby, either way, a defensive-minded guy. What is that chess match like? And I think it's, you know, again, it's definitely a top storyline. Mike Bobo going against his old team. This will be the first time ever that Mike Bobo is facing the University of Georgia. So again, both guys Georgia alums. What are the game plans like on both respective sides? And can Mike Bobo scheme something up offensively to give South Carolina a chance in this football game? So again, my key matchups, Luke Doty against Azeez Ojulari, Ernest Jones against Zamir White, and Mike Bobo against Kirby Smart. All right, let's move into the keys to the game. What does South Carolina need to do to give themselves an opportunity to beat the Georgia Bulldogs on Saturday night? Keys to the game, and they're presented to you by our friends over at MyBookie. Guys, between the NFL, college football, there's no shortage of games to watch, and with thousands of lines available in all your favorite sports and events, you can turn your game day into payday with MyBookie. Guys, if you're the type of person that likes to back the big favorites, consider putting a couple in a parlay for a much bigger payout. Not only do parlays make meaningless games exciting, but more importantly, they give you a chance to turn ordinary bets into a real moneymaker. Guys, and of course, don't forget the underdogs, right? They have a ton of value. The thing about college football, the NFL, the underdogs really never are dogs, right? Every team truly has a chance to win, and you do as well. Game spreads, championship futures, and player prop bets. It's never too late to get on the action and start turning your sports knowledge into actual cash in your wallet. Guys, you can sign up today at mybookie.ag. And when you do, use the promo code Gamecocks to claim a deposit match dollar for dollar all the way up to $1,000. Guys, it's a no-brainer. It's a win-win. It's a bonus designed to give you a little help and a head start in your winning season. So again, guys, that's promo code Gamecocks. Promo code Gamecocks you to claim your bonus when you make your deposit. Stacked UFC cards, presidential prop bets, college football, NFL, all the major sports and more. Sign up today to begin your winning season exclusively at MyBookie. All right, let's dive into the keys to the game, guys. And I want to start with this. I talked about earlier the chase to 1,000 yards. Well, ground and pound is a key to the game for me. South Carolina is going to have to find a way. And this is a stingy Georgia defense. Again, 2.5 yards per carry is what they are allowing. Can South Carolina get any semblance of a running game going? Because if you can't, you're not going to have a chance in this game at all. Ground and pound, though, my first key to the game, getting Kevin Harris going. This offense, no matter who's at quarterback, this offense revolves around Kevin Harris. Kevin Harris has to get something going on the ground. Could not do that last week. Can South Carolina get him going in this football game? My second key to the game. I talked a lot about Luke Doty. Everybody's looking forward to Luke Doty getting on the field Saturday. My second key, let Doty loose. Hey, screw it. Again, like we said last week, what do you have to lose? Your head coach has been fired. Okay, what are you really playing for? Take the reins off the kid. Let the true freshman go out there, use his athletic ability, and let him loose. Hey, there's going to be growing pains. Totally fine. He's going to have freshman moments and freshman mistakes. That's fine. But again, I think this is what South Carolina fans have been saying all season long. They'd rather go down swinging with the quarterback of the future than play it conservative to only lose by 2 touchdowns with a Colin Hill. Fair, unfair, or indifferent, I think that's how fans feel. And I think it makes sense, to be totally honest. So again, my second key to the game, let Doty loose. Take the reins off the kid. Let him use his athletic abilities. Let him use his God-given talents and just roll the dice and see what happens. Fairly simple. My final key to the game, again, I've talked a lot about that Georgia offense. How do you make Georgia one-dimensional? Because you're going to have to. Again, to have any chance, you got to make the Dogs one-dimensional. You got to take away one or the other. My final key to the game is this, kind of like I just said with Luke Doty and offensively, and take the reins off and let him go. I say the same thing defensively. And I thought you saw T-Rob, by the way, call a beautiful game last week, especially in the second half against Mizzou. My final key to the game, bring the heat, man. I mean, you know what they have in JT Daniels. You know what they have in the running game. Make them make plays. Because you're certainly not going to win this football game. You're probably not even going to keep this game competitive if you just sit back and just let Georgia do what they want to do. I just don't think you give yourself a very good chance to win the football game if you do that. So bring the heat. Bring the pressure. Find a way to get after JT Daniels. Make him make quick decisions. Force the issue in this game. Again, if you lose, fine. You're a 3-touchdown underdog. Fine. But go down swinging in the process, if nothing else. So again, my keys to the game, ground and pound, let Doty loose, and bring the heat. My keys to the game. All right. That is my breakdown of the Georgia Bulldogs, guys. To hell with Georgia. Should be a fun one on Saturday for sure. Let's go ahead. No news and notes, really. The only piece of news that really just came out while I was recording, South Carolina's exhibition against Coker was canceled due to some COVID issues with Coker, apparently. So 2020 strikes again. No Gamecocks basketball on Wednesday night. Also, do want to give a shout out to the Gamecocks women for taking care of business in their exhibition on Wednesday around noon. They absolutely destroyed the College of Charleston. So good start for Dawn Staley and that crew. And again, Gamecocks men's basketball will officially begin their season Saturday against Liberty at 4 o'clock. Should be a lot of fun. All right. What's up, guys? Hope you're enjoying the show. You know, when you're running a small business, there are a lot of different tasks and challenges you face. You know, you're wearing all the different hats. You're getting pulled many different directions, and you feel like you don't have enough time in your day. Literally anything that can make your life easier, you're open to it. Guys, if you're growing an e-commerce business, if that is your focus, you need a platform that's focused on growth. That's where my friends over at Klaviyo comes in, and today's show is brought to you by our friends over at Klaviyo. Klaviyo is the ultimate e-commerce marketing platform for online brands of all kinds and all sizes. Whether you're just getting started or you're running a well-known brand, it gives you everything you need to send memorable branded emails, text messages, and more, so you can build strong relationships that keep your customers coming back. Guys, with flexible automations, powerful insights, and super precise targeting, Klaviyo is a faster way to turn great ideas into great customer experiences. That's why it's trusted by more than 40,000 brands like Living Proof, Huckberry, and 8 Sleep. Guys, in fact, an average Klaviyo customers see a 41% increase in overall revenue within 5 months. So Klaviyo scales with you so you never have to switch. They support everything from garage startups to iconic billion-dollar brands. Guys, if you want to learn more about how you can grow your brand with Klaviyo, visit klaviyo.com/grow. That is klaviyo.com/grow to get started with a free trial today. Again, that's klaviyo.com/grow, klaviyo.com/grow. Go check them out and tell them Chris from the Spurs Up Show sent you. Let's go ahead. With that being said, let's go ahead and dive into these listener questions and voicemails. And we'll start with a very, very funny voicemail, by the way.
This is Georgia week. Yeah. You know I used to play in Georgia. Yes, sir. We had a bulldog as a mascot. Well, this week we're going to look at quarterback. Yeah. You know I used to play quarterback. Yeah. Colin and I was friends right off. He's a good boy. He had some trouble with his knees. Yeah. But he sure does have some pretty hair. You know, there's this young boy, Luke. He's really fast, I reckon. One of the fastest I have ever did see. He can throw the ball a good ways, too. Well, I reckon we should start him and let him take the first team reps, I do reckon.
That is my guy, Eric. Eric, I appreciate the voicemail. If you guys don't know, he's doing an impression from the movie Sling Blade because he says that Mike Bobo looks like the guy from the movie. So very good stuff. Great impression, Eric. Appreciate you, sir, for the call. Thank you for providing us all a laugh. All right, let's get into your listener questions. And by the way, while I pull these questions up before we do, I will make a comment on one thing that I saw on social media. DJ Swearinger giving his opinion on some things that were said by Israel Mukuamu. Wow, what a savage. Yeah. DJ Swearinger is a complete savage. So that is the best way to put it. And guys, my apologies. I'm trying to find these questions here. For some reason, I cannot find the post. Here we go. Okay. Let's go ahead and dive into these. Mike.Edwards07. Does South Carolina have a chance? I'll ask you this, Mike. Did South Carolina have a chance last year? I mean, we know the odds aren't good. We all understand the challenge that's ahead. But, I mean, did they have a chance last year? That's my question. Way_Langston, chances we can stop Georgia on offense. I think, it's crazy that I feel better about the defense now without JC and Izzy than I did before. But I think if nothing else, I expect T-Rod to have a good game plan. I thought he called a really good game last week. And I expect if nothing else, these guys are going to come out and bust their ass and play hard. So can you fully stop them? I highly doubt it. But I don't know. I feel decent. And I don't think Georgia's some offensive juggernaut either. I know JT Daniels balled out last week, but I think South Carolina will be able to hold Georgia at bay enough in this game. We'll see, though. WM Thames, difference going into this game than last year. I mean, well, you don't have J.C. Horn or Israel McQuamu. Ryan Helinski's not your starting quarterback. The game is in Columbia instead of Athens. So just a few differences, my guy. Also, you don't have a head coach, so there are certainly some differences between the 2 years. Adam_Madison, can Doty produce enough energy to make it a game? Are D going to have a tough time? I mean, it's going to be a tough time all across the board. Really excited, really intrigued to see what Luke Doty can bring to the table. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see, man. You got to, like I said, you got to let Doty loose, man. You got to take the reins off and say, here, young man, go out there. Here's your opportunity. So you got to give him a chance. Jay Painter 71. Any chance the next coach isn't Beamer at this point? Gamecock legends approve. Yeah, there's a lot of momentum for Shane Beamer, man. When you get the vote of confidence from Marcus Lattimore and DJ Swearinger and Melvin Ingram and Stephen Garcia and Pat DeMarco, and I mean the list goes on and on. There's a lot of momentum in Shane Beamer's corner. David_Barnes 76. Who catches the game-winning touchdown on Saturday? I'm going to go off the wall. Nick Muse. A moment of redemption for Nick Muse. So, final question here. Dylan O'Shields 012. Will Shi Smith be playing? And if not, how long is he out? They're not 100% certain. I'd bank on he will be out this weekend. I doubt Shi Smith sees another snap this season. I just think being in concussion protocol, he most likely will not play against Georgia. And I mean, I think for Shi, man, he's given you all he's had this year. And obviously he's got his sights set on the NFL and going professional. And, why would he put that at risk for like the Kentucky game? You know what I mean? So I doubt he plays against Georgia. And honestly, I doubt he plays another game this season for South Carolina, which is unfortunate because, again, he's done a fantastic job for you. And you can't say enough about the job Shi Smith has done, honestly. So, again, guys, thanks so much for the questions, voicemails. Guys, thank you so much for always being interactive, interacting with the show. Got a fantastic conversation now, guys. Obviously, the hot topic to talk about right now is the coaching conversation, the coaching search, if you will. And I brought on the perfect guy to do so. Former Gamecocks offensive lineman John Strickland, who I actually had on last year's show in December, recapping the Clemson game. I was taking a look at that. John was on the show about a year ago, bringing him back on. He was also on the Letterman call on Saturday. You guys may have seen the Letterman call where Ray Tanner actually sat down with the Letterman, got their feedback, got their thoughts on everything. So we talk about that, the coaching search, what he's looking for. We do talk a little current day Gamecock football as well. We talk about this Georgia game and the rest of the season. A ton to get into, guys. Again, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to tune in. Thank you so much for the love, the support. I truly do appreciate it. And on this Thanksgiving Day, guys, I tell you, happy Thanksgiving. And I'm thankful for each and every single one of you that supports the Spurs Up Show. So, guys, again, as always, I am Chris Phillips of the Spurs Up Show. Appreciate you tuning in. Enjoy this conversation with former Gamecocks offensive lineman John Strickland. All right, joining us today once again on the Spurs Up Show. He was on a year ago. It's been a year too long, but just to remind you guys, played offensive line for the Gamecocks 2000 to 2004. He was part of those South Carolina teams that won back-to-back Outback Bowls, named to the Remington Award watch list in 2004. A big part of the Gamecocks offensive line, and now, arguably, a big part in finding South Carolina's next head football coach, we could say. John Strickland, appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, man.
Pleasure to have you in the studio. Yeah. Again, like I said, we did this a year ago, and it's crazy how much can change in a year, but really, really pleased to have you on, man. It's awesome to chat with you.
Yeah, good to be here.
So, yeah. So, we'll go ahead and dive into it. Like I was telling you off air, man, obviously the last time we had you on, we talked a lot about your career at South Carolina, winning back-to-back Outback Bowls. Obviously, you were an anchor on the offensive line for Carolina, and it's funny. Last night I was going through like all the old pictures and stuff and kind of all the old games and the memories. You see I've got the Outback Bowl hat on, but right now we're talking about the current state of South Carolina football, sort of what's going on. You know, obviously Will Muschamp being relieved of his duties just a few weeks ago. Obviously, we're talking during Georgia week. I want to ask you first and get your take, because I remember very vividly last year when you came on that, you know, again, I kind of went rogue last year with the whole Muschamp takes, and I think people started to come around, but I think it just became apparent this year that a change was needed. But I want to ask you, because I know you were very much pro Muschamp, liked Muschamp a lot, whatever. Were you surprised, I guess, that the hammer came down when it did this year, coming basically in the middle of the season? And I feel like it was something you probably could feel it too, like when you lost to Texas A&M and you sort of felt the pressure getting to this incredible level. But were you surprised, I guess, that it came down when it did?
Yeah, I was actually surprised. I just figured during this whole crazy pandemic year, I thought that even if we only won 3 or 4 games, coach would be back next year. But yeah, I was surprised for sure. Just because it's during the middle of the season, you still had 3 games left. 2 of them I thought were very, very winnable games. Missouri, Kentucky. Of course, the Georgia game, you just never know what's going to happen. But yeah, no, I was surprised it happened. But you know, just hearing from Coach Tanner, he just I think him and Caslin just basically felt that I guess now's the time to do it, and let's look forward to something new.
Yeah. Do you feel like – I feel like it's one of those things, man, where – because I sort of echoed the same thing in the preseason, where because of the COVID and the economic – I mean, we've all dealt with 2020. You know what I mean? It's been a crazy year. I even flipped and said I thought there was no way Muschamp was going to get fired this year unless South Carolina went like 0-10, 1-9. I mean, it'd have to be a complete disaster.
Yeah.
But I think, you know, I feel like it's one thing to say that in June, July, even August, but when you get in the middle of the season and you see it playing out on the field, and I think really what did it, man, was basically being a repeat of last year, where you beat Georgia and Athens and you're just unable, you squash all momentum you built from that. And I went on Eric Kimry's show and talked to Kimry. I know Kimry's a guy you know very, very well. And he talks a lot about like building momentum within the program. That's just something we were never able, when we got it, we were never able to hold on to it and build off of it. Like, and it was the same thing it looked like this year with the Auburn game, where it's like you come out, play really well. And, you know, I went to Baton Rouge, and I'll tell you that week was as exciting a week as, you know, I can remember. And for Carolina football, at least in a while. And I don't know. I just think it was a repeat. But really my main point was I think it's easy to say that in the preseason and during the summer and like, oh, no matter what, he's back. This is a mulligan. It's a, you know, this year doesn't count, whatever. But to go through it, I think, and then see it on the field, I think you saw just how difficult that is for fans to swallow and administration, and obviously Castle and Tanner if they're willing to pull the trigger. So
yeah, I mean, you win that Auburn game, and you felt like I mean, I thought the team had played well the entire year, even the Florida-Tennessee game. I mean, both of those games, there's just a few plays that decided those games. I mean, so we were very competitive, and then we take care of business at Vandy. You go and play Auburn here at home, look at them right now. They're a really good football team, and you beat Auburn, and then you go on the road at LSU, and yeah, I mean, you got some guys banged up, but I mean, that was just giving up 50.
It was too easy.
53, 54
52 points, yeah.
Yeah.
To a true freshman quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, that was just, and then to go to watch LSU score 11 points against Auburn next week. And but
didn't sit well with the home crowd.
Yeah, no, it didn't. And then of course, come back, and the A&M loss was probably one of the worst losses I've seen. Actually, it's one of the worst losses I've seen since I've been a part of Carolina since 2000.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, there's been some bad ones, but you know, scoring 3 points and giving up 48 points. I mean, that was rough, and I think that got the wheels really turning.
Yeah.
You know, like I've told you, I really like Will Muschamp. He's a great guy. The few times I've been able to just hang around him, and he's a football guy. I mean, I'll never forget the first time I got to hang out with him. He just sit there and we literally ask him question after question about football, which I'm sure he was like, but I think he really liked it just because he's a football guy. Yeah. But I think he had some bad luck here with defensive injuries specifically over the years. But I mean, it is what it is. It's part of the game. And, so they just decided to move on. So I think the writing was on the wall, though, after the A&M game. And then you got to Ole Miss and give up 50-something points.
And ugly doing. I mean, there was a lot of ugly spots in that game.
It was bad, but you could tell a lot of missed assignments.
Yeah.
A lot of young guys playing in that game. And Ole Miss just exposed us. I think we were playing probably too basic of a defense for some of the young guys that we had out there playing.
Right.
And Lane Kiffin, I mean, he's an offensive guy. He'll expose you.
He'll expose you. Dude, I'm glad we got you. Since we're talking about this current team before we get into the coaching stuff, obviously we got the picture on the TV there. I mean, you were an anchor of the offensive line and you center, right? You're center. Yeah. So I love talking to former offensive linemen because I always tell people, and I know I probably told you this last year, that I think the most interesting thing is that, I talk ball, we all talk ball, but the people that didn't play, especially that didn't play offensive line, you can talk offensive line, but you really don't know what you're talking about because it's just the intricacies. It's so in depth. It's so complex. And I mean, just having Brad Lawing in here, hearing him talk about it from the defensive side, he was a mad scientist.
Brad is the man.
Yeah, that dude's a mad scientist.
I heard him on Kimberly's podcast.
Yeah. He's a legend.
The first time, and I can't remember either Kimberly or Jeff Barnes were like. And you got to listen to this. And I listened to it, and I could listen to Brad talk about football all day long.
Yeah, I mean, he's literally a mad scientist. But the reason I talk about that, I want to talk about your take on this current team and the offensive line, because anytime you've got a rusher like Kevin Harris, only 125 yards away from 1,000 yards, I know that's something you can attest to. You take pride in as an offensive lineman, getting your guy to 1,000, and especially this year. I mean, I think it would be – I sure hope he hits it. I'm just thinking in my head. You got Georgia and Kentucky, and I think he should be able to because Kevin Harris, your bell cow back, the way he's ran the ball all year, obviously it speaks for itself. But what have you seen from the Gamecocks offensive line? Because obviously I think Sedarius Hutcherson is the true leader and the anchor for them there at the guard position. You got Eric Douglas, Jovan Gwynn, Dylan Wanham, Turnantine, other guys that have played big roles. But just your overall thoughts. I mean, again, I know they've had troubles in pass pro, and I think I would attribute a lot of that to. I mean, listen, it hasn't been perfect, but when you've got a guy, not knocking him, but when you don't have a very mobile quarterback and, you allow defenses to pin their ears back, it's just going to make it nearly impossible. I think it was Kimry's show. Maybe it was Jeff Barnes. Maybe it was somebody else, but they were basically talking about offensive line play and like the tackle position where they're talking about like it's the only sport where you're moving backwards and like you're having like basically talking about how hard it is. Like it's like the hardest thing to do, going backwards, keeping your balance. And there's a guy that's way more athletic than you, a lot quicker than you, and you got to try to like keep him off the quarterback. But just again, talk about offensive line play, what you've seen. Again, anytime you've got a guy that's close to 1,000, you've been doing your job, if nothing else, in the running game. So what you've seen from those guys up front this year? Yeah,
I think for mostly the overall, the offensive line has played really well this year. Hutch has played really good. I tend to draw myself and watch the offensive line.
Yeah, that's where your eyes go in a game.
Yeah, most of the time. You like to see what happens, and then you go to where the ball is. Yeah. But I thought they played really well. There's been a couple games. Here's the problem. So we've had some sacks given up, and I know you talk about Colin. Yeah, he's not the most mobile guy, but a lot of these games, most of them, we've been down. So we've had to throw the ball or like the Florida game, we just had to come out and sling
obvious passing
the whole
situation.
Second half. So obviously that's going to lead to more pressure, more sacks. That's just the way it goes. The A&M game, nothing was working. We're trying to throw the ball. Same thing. So that's just kind of how it goes. But I think overall as a whole, I think the offensive line's played really well. Coach Wolf, I mean, he's a first-class guy. He really does know offensive line play. I mean, there's a reason he was with the 49ers. There's a reason he was a head coach at Youngstown State. I mean, the guy just knows how to coach. So I think the offensive line as a whole has played very well. And, speaking of offensive linemen, I mean, to me, the two hardest things to do as an offensive lineman is a center reaching on a reach block on an outside run play, that's super hard. So you got a guy who's just as big as you. He's probably a little more athletic than you are. And he is a whole foot and a half to the side you're running the ball, and you have to get around and reach him while snapping the ball at the same time. And then the other one is blocking a defensive end who's built like he's built like a big tight end, but he moves like a outside linebacker safety, and kick sliding, going backwards, trying to block that guy to keep him off the quarterback. It's a tough deal.
That's why those guys get paid so much in the NFL to do it, right? That's why those left tackles are paid very handsomely to do their job.
Yep, that's for sure.
Yeah. So let's move into the coaching stuff, obviously, because like we were talking about off air, it's pretty well publicized at this point. I'm pretty sure the state put out an article, and others have talked about it on social media. You got the Letterman hat on. Obviously, you guys had a meeting of sorts on Saturday's Zoom call with Coach Tanner. And I think the thing that's been really interesting with this, whether guys have been voicing their support for the popular names, Shane Beamer, Billy Napier, whoever it is, you've seen a lot of, I think, former players come out of the woodworks, at least on social media, and they're letting their voice be heard. I was able to talk to guys like DJ Swearinger and Aldrich Fordham and these other, South Carolina greats, if you will, that, they've all got opinions on it. They've all got opinions on what they'd like to see, at least see from the next head coach, the qualities. But let's stick to that call first, obviously. You don't have to go into any great detail, obviously, what's behind closed doors, but I think they said there were, about 40 to 50 former players on there? Was it pretty good bit?
Yeah, it was a good bit. I mean, it was a lot. I just saw the names keep piling on. I mean, I was probably one of the first 20 to get on it. And then you just see – I see all my former teammates names popping up.
Right.
Enter the combo. But
so, I was just going to say, just like again, you don't have to go into great detail, but just like, what did you feel like the overall vibe was from that? Did you feel like it was a productive meeting? Obviously, you guys were able to talk to Coach Tanner. Just the overall vibe from it.
Yeah. I won't get into too much detail on what Coach Tanner said, but I'll kind of give you some ideas of what the players, our thoughts were. So basically, we kind of threw around, there was kind of 4 names really thrown around that a lot of the former players mentioned. They put in queue before we got on the call, just so that the names were thrown out there. Obviously, Coach Tanner is not allowed to directly comment on anything, can't do it. Right. So we got on there. Some guys gave their opinions, asked questions. I more or less just sat back and listened, but I did submit a question. But I think so many of us had the same question: is what are we looking for in a coach? And basically, are you willing to take the advice from former players that have been there and done that? And obviously he is, or he wouldn't have took a Zoom call with us, right? So we know the answer to that. And Coach Tanner, I mean, he's one of us.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's been a coach. That's what he is.
Yeah.
And so basically we threw out the names. Obviously there was Shane Beamer mentioned, there was Napier mentioned, Deuce Staley, Chris Rump, and obviously Hugh Freeze was mentioned. That was kind of the 5 names that were mentioned by former players. Basically, I think the expression that all the former players gave is, we want to see somebody here that actually wants to be here, that wants to be at South Carolina, that thinks South Carolina is their dream job, and that really cares about the university, the people around the university, the former players, and the fans as a whole. Like, they want somebody who actually cares about this university. And we would like to see some of the guys who are former players that are coaching today have the opportunity to be in the program in some way, shape, or form, whether that be as a coach, administrative role somehow. But that's kind of what our sentiment was to Ray, is to let him know that this is how we feel and this is how it should be done. Because you look up the road at Clemson. So just go through and look at all their analysts, coaches, administration roles. tons of guys.
I mean, just for example, they just brought back a CJ Spiller, I think, over the summer or something like that.
So tons of guys that all played football at Clemson. So that's what it's about.
Right.
Okay.
That's where that family
there's
type
so
of
many qualified guys that I played with or that played after me that are coaches right now.
One of your guys, I think, Nashawn Goddard. He's a offensive. I've had him on.
Yeah, you got Nashawn. You got Cedric Williams.
Yeah.
You know, Cedric's done all kind of stuff with the NFL. Being a college offensive line coach at Georgia State. I mean, you got guys like that. I mean, you got Jeff Barnes. He's a great O-line coach. I mean, I could go on and on with the list of guys. I mean, I was just talking to Dondrell Pinkins yesterday. And, I mean, he's a head coach at Pelham High School, and he was a head coach at his former high school.
Right.
And he's been doing nothing but winning. I mean, that's all he does. And then, obviously, you got Rod Wilson that's on staff now. And then you have Connor that's around. So, I mean, there's just a lot of guys out there that we want to see that I think deserve a true shot at being on staff that I think – are just as good as any other assistant coach you could go hire out there.
Yeah.
I mean, to me personally, Eric Kimry.
Yeah.
Eric is offensive minded. Listen, I'll never forget this. When we were in college, just hearing Kimry talk about football, we were like, dude, Kimry's going to be a great coach one day. Obviously, he has. He's won like 47.
Just won a state title. Just won another one.
Yeah. So, but that was more of our sentiment. Like that's what we wanted to get across. We gave our list of kind of who we thought deserved, but we wanted to make sure that they cared about the university, they wanted to be here, and that former players had a chance to be within the university. Yeah.
And I agree with you. I'm just curious to get your take on this, John, because I could be wrong because, I mean, I don't remember much of the coaching search from 2004 or 1998 but I'm just curious to get your take. Obviously, I'm sure you love that, obviously, and I think it probably means a lot to all the former players that, the university is getting you guys' opinion. They're getting your take on it. They're not just going about their way and picking whoever, what I'm saying? They're getting you guys feedback. Why do you think that's such a big point of emphasis this time around? As far as because I've heard, and I agree with you, I think the culture fit might be the most important thing here. And like you're saying, finding a guy who wants to be here, it's his dream job. It's not just a stop along the road. But I'm curious, why do you
sets the culture?
Yeah, I'm saying, why do you think? Because I don't feel like that's always been the most important thing. Like, why do you think this time around there's so much emphasis on that?
I think you see it so much more in college football today. You look at Lincoln Riley. Look at I mean, just look at a bunch of guys who are at their university right now. Are their staffs are mostly former athletes that played there. Those teams are winning. And I don't know. I think there was some guys felt some disconnect, I guess, with this past, not all, but I guess some felt disconnect with where we were with Coach Muschamp, which I don't totally agree with that because Muschamp did more for the former players than's ever been done in the history of the school for former players. He took care of us. I mean, can't right now because of COVID, but I can go to the indoor any day I want, just go work out, do whatever. I've got rehab. I tore my calf, called up there. Clint Haggard took care of me, rehabbed me. It's not like I had to go pay money to go get rehabbed. I mean, stuff like that. But I don't know. I think some guys felt there was a disconnect with them, and they just want somebody that actually cares about South Carolina. And I think that's why Shane Beamer's name comes up. Yeah. I think if Shane's hired, I think you're going to see quite a bit of former players around administratively or on the coaching staff. The guy was born in the state. And this from everything I know, this is Shane Beamer's dream job. Like, he would love to have this job. I don't think there's anybody else on the list that would want to have this job more than him. So I think it's just all about saying, want somebody who loves this place. It's going to actually change the culture and not just talk about it.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about Beamer a little bit, because I think it's been really interesting, because that's the hot name floating around right now. And it might not be Shane, but that is certainly the hot name. And when you're getting the endorsement and the vote of confidence from guys like Marcus Lattimore, DJ Swearinger, Steven Garcia, Pat DeMarco, Devontae Holloman, I saw this morning, you just keep going down the list. There's a reason your name is the hot name right now. So talk about Shane. If you want to mention other candidates, just like the pros and cons you feel like of guys that you feel like are on the short list right now, and just what do you think, I guess, of the names that are floating around right now, including Shane Beamer?
Yeah, I think so. I got to know Shane when he was here from 2007 to 2010, just because I wasn't that far removed from the program. I was there in 2004 and and I used to hang around the coaches. And so Shane's just a great guy. I mean, he's very enthusiastic about football. I think the only negative that people want to look at, which I don't really look at it, he hasn't been a head coach. He hasn't been a head coach. I mean, guys, he's been around a head coach his entire life, one of the all-time greats. He's been at big-time programs. He's been under Spurrier. He's been at Georgia. He's at Oklahoma right now. And at Georgia and Oklahoma, he was the assistant head coaches at both places. And the guy can just recruit. I mean, he can flat out recruit. He works. So that's my thought on him. Napier, I don't know a ton about him. I know some of his background. I really, to be honest with you, I don't see any negatives with him nor Beamer. And this is just my opinion.
Yeah.
Not everybody else's.
Yeah, I don't even look at them as negatives, but I was just telling you, there's pros and cons to every candidate. There's no like Spurrier and 04 where it's just like a no-brainer. You got to hire the guy. I mean, and it's not a bad thing to say. I mean, there's a risk with everybody, but that's why you roll the dice. You take a chance. I mean,
yeah, I agree. I think the other names that have been thrown around, like Hugh Freeze, I just, with the baggage he has, and yes, we
and I don't think it would fit the dream job category for him.
I don't
think
know
at
if
all.
it would either. I don't know if it would either. So I think the baggage is the only thing you worry about him, and does he really want to be here?
Right.
That's the cons on him.
Does he jump in 2 years for Tennessee or Auburn or some other job?
Exactly. Yeah. So that's the cons I have with him. Other than that, I mean, I think he'd be a great hire.
Right.
But that's my two cons with him. And then you look at like Deuce Staley. Man, I think Deuce Staley would be a great hire here too. I don't know the whole rule. He hasn't finished his degree. And the other thing you look at with Deuce is he's on a fast track to become an NFL head coach. If that's the case, which I promise you, Deuce would love to be here more than anybody on the list. That's a fact.
Yeah.
But Deuce is just on that fast track to NFL head coach.
He's got a good thing going.
Yeah. So why would you want to? I don't know. Maybe, I mean, who knows? Maybe he does want to come back here. I haven't talked to him, so I couldn't tell you how he feels or not. But it's the good life being an NFL head coach versus a college head coach, because you don't have to be out on the road recruiting all the time.
You're hanging back.
There's a difference there. So that's kind of the four that have been hot, like that I know are being very much considered. And that's kind of my cons. I mean, really, I don't have any cons with Beamer, and I don't have any cons with Napier. So to me, that's my top two choices. Right. Obviously, I would love Deuce to be here too, but like I said, with the NFL stuff and the degree thing, I don't know how that all works out. I think that kind of puts him out. But man, to be honest with you though, if it wasn't the case with the degree thing or whatever, I think Deuce would be a home run hire. Yeah. Would be a home run hire for here. I think for recruiting, morale, culture, everything.
Yeah, I think that'd be an awesome hire too. I'll ask you again, getting back to, you sort of already kind of mentioned it, as far as the things you're looking for, as far as the culture fit and somebody who wants to be here. But what else are you looking for from the next head coach? Specifics, like maybe it's scheme wise or offensive minded, defensive mind. Like what are the qualities and the things you want to see from the next head football coach?
To be honest with you, I want to see us score 35 points plus a game. So I want to see some offense. I want to see some fireworks. But then I also want to see a strong defense.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I want to see a strong SEC defense, which is getting harder and harder nowadays just with all the prolific offenses that are out there. But that's what I'm looking forward to is I want to get somebody in here that's going to, make some good coordinator hires.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I want. I want some good coordinator hires to come in here. But yeah, offense. I want to see some offense.
Yeah.
35 plus.
Yeah. That's just the way the game's going. I mean, you have to score. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just the rules even are made for offense. And I mean, like you said, man, it's a tough living to try to win games 20-17 in 2020. It's just damn near impossible.
Yeah, man, it's rough. That stuff doesn't happen anymore. It used to happen when I played. But, it just, except for fewer Steve Spurrier. But yeah, it just doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah, for sure. So before we get you out of here, John, we are going to talk a little bit this current team. Obviously, it's Georgia week. It is Thanksgiving. Technically, this is coming out on Thanksgiving. So happy Thanksgiving, by the way.
It's rivalry week.
It's rivalry week.
Hate Georgia, which I hate more than pretty much Clemson.
Yeah. What's funny? I used to hate Georgia more than Clemson until Clemson started winning, and then it got pretty unbearable. But no, my hatred for Georgia is very much up there. I grew up like on the border of South Carolina and Georgia, so you obviously get it from the Dog fans. And the Gamecocks coming in this one looking to make it 2 in a row over Georgia. Obviously, that huge upset last year. Listen, we all know the challenge going in this game Saturday night. You're probably going to be starting a true freshman quarterback in Luke Doty, which I think is going to be awesome. If it happens, it'll be awesome. It's exciting. It'll get you on the edge of your seat. But we all know, again, the task at hand, Georgia, what they bring to the table. JT Daniels now been inserted. He throws for 400 last week, and I'd say they probably have one of the better defenses in the entire country. I'll ask you, not even so much on the game Saturday night, but this rivalry as a whole, because I would certainly call it a rivalry. And it's one of those games, when you talk about rivalry games, throw the records out the window. And literally the picture we have on the TV is against Georgia, which is kind of ironic. But, when these two teams go on the field, throw the records out the window, you never know what's going to happen because the familiarity between both sides with Georgia guys and South Carolina guys on each of the respective rosters. What are your memories from the South Carolina Georgia series? Because obviously you were on teams 2000 and 2001 that were able to get those guys, and those were two incredible games for different reasons. And you've obviously again played between the hedges. You've played them in a sold out Willie B. Like, what do you remember your memories from that Carolina Georgia rivalry?
I mean, it's I think for most fans would agree with me. Besides the Clemson game, this is the biggest game of the year. This is one that it is a rivalry game, even though before 2000, because from 2000 to 2020, I'd be willing to bet that it's close to even on wins and losses, except Georgia's had our number here for besides last year, I guess about 3 or 4 years in a row. But other than that, I mean, it's a super close game every time. When you got Georgia on the schedule and it's Georgia week, I mean, just especially me being from Georgia, the juices just get flowing a little more. I don't know why. It's just it gets everybody excited, but it is a hard-fought rival because you have guys on both teams from each state. You have guys from South Carolina that play on Georgia. You have guys from Georgia that play at South Carolina, whatever. And a lot of those guys played against each other in high school. There were several Georgia guys that when I played against in high school. I'll never forget the starting D tackle for Georgia. Me and him played against each block. I blocked him in high school, and I blocked him in college too. So it's just kind of one of those things. But to me, there was nothing better. I mean, the Georgia game is just a great game. I mean, the 2000 Georgia game was wild and crazy. I was getting redshirted that year, so I actually sat in the student section for that game and got a little out of control. I ran out on the field, and then I wound up running into the locker room after the game just to hear what Coach had to say, and celebrate with my teammates. But 2001 was a great one too. But they've all been so close. I mean, 2002. The pitch to Pinnock, and man,
that one hurt. that was the Pollock game too.
It was just that game. Whew, I hate even talking about that game. And then the 2004 game, my senior year, I hate talking about that one too because we were up 16-0 at halftime.
Yeah.
We were up 16-0 at halftime. I think Georgia was ranked like number 3 in the country at the point. But that went in. They come back and beat us. We didn't score a point the whole second half. We actually, it was very reminiscent of 2002. We're down there on the goal line. I think it was a 4th and 1, and Coach Holtz decided, hey, we're going to run a naked bootleg and just let Don Drummond run it. And I did not want to do that.
Yeah.
I wanted to line up.
Yeah.
Quarterback sneak. Let's get the first down, then let's get the win. Well, it wound up not working out. They wouldn't listen to me, I guess. But yeah, man, the Georgia rivalry is something it's real. I mean, even though Georgia has owned the series, and, I grew up a Georgia fan, but I think that's part of the reason I don't like Georgia is because Jim Donnan, he was a coach, didn't sign. I don't think they signed one offensive lineman my senior year coming out of high school. So they didn't offer me a scholarship. So I was like, you know what? I'm going somewhere else. So basically my 2 choices of schools came down between Auburn and South Carolina. And I came here on my visit and just kind of loved it here. And Coach Holtz kind of helped on that too. But yeah, so that's what I think of the Georgia week. It's a big time game. And but as far as the game this Saturday, I think there's just too many defensive guys opted out or injured for us to have a chance in this game.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. You hear Bobo going down the list of guys that are banged up. And I mean, it's that time of year. I mean, you're late in the season, but it's like, good God, are we going to have enough to field a team?
Yeah, when he said it yesterday, there was 16. I didn't realize it was that many. I thought it was about 12 about 12, but he said 16. I was just like, what? 16? Down 16 scholarship guys. Think about that.
Yeah, that hurts.
And there's only 11 guys that play on that side of the ball on the field at a time, and there's 16 scholarship players out or injured or whatever.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be a challenge. Like I said, it's kind of ironic this game falls during rivalry week, though. It feels very, very appropriate. Last thing, John, before I get you out of here, just really quickly, obviously, again, the challenge that's at hand this Saturday, and then you go to Kentucky to close it out. And obviously it's been a tumultuous season, especially the last couple of weeks. You lose your head coach. Just what you want to see from this team the last 2 weeks. Is there anything specifically, I mean, other than going out there and, like we kind of said last week, playing for the name on the front of the jersey, just playing your tail off, and whatever happens.
Well, obviously that's a big part of it. You want to play hard. I want to see that. They did play hard last week.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I actually thought they played super hard last week. The defense looked great last week. The second half, I actually went back and watched the game because it was just on TV. And I flipped it over to SEC Network, and it was on TV, so it was the second half. But watching those guys on defense play the second half, dude, they were excited. I mean, every time they were making plays, I mean, it was like it was a big time, top 5 game. I mean, that's how the guys looked on the field. And so you want to see that. But I just want to see some progression, especially from some of the young players, especially at wide receiver. And if Doty's playing quarterback, I want to see what he can do. Maybe a full game by himself with arguably one of the best defenses in the conference. So I don't know. I'm more or less just right now just looking at the young guys and what we have coming back for next year and what the future looks like. That's kind of what I'm looking at in these next 2 games. I think the Kentucky game is very winnable.
Oh yeah,
100%. Actually, I don't think Kentucky's that good. Their offense has went down the tube.
Yeah, so. I'm surprised how bad they've been. Honestly, I thought they were going to be much better.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I just want to see guys play hard, and all these coaches on the staff. They need the guy to play hard because guess what?
They're coaching for a job.
They're coaching for a job, whether it's here or somewhere else. So, just want to see the guys play hard, man, give good effort, which they did last week, even though we lost the game. I don't know what was going on with the offense first half, but whatever.
Yeah. Well, John, good stuff, man. Like I said, it's a pleasure. Obviously, we had you on last year, getting you on again in the studio this time. But obviously, it'll be a very interesting next few weeks with the coaching search and obviously closing out the season and, truly just a new era of Gamecock football beginning. So I appreciate you you coming by, sharing your insight, and definitely have to get you back on because, like I said, it's going to be an interesting few weeks, and obviously as we begin this new era, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So
yeah, I think it'll be fun. I'm looking forward to it. Like I said, I was a Muschamp guy. I love Coach Muschamp, but it is what it is. So I'm looking forward to see what happens here over the next probably 2 weeks. I think is when we'll get an announcement.
Yeah, new beginnings for sure.
I think 2 weeks, and so yeah, let's beat those Bulldogs somehow, some way, and basketball game tonight. Looking forward to that.
Yeah, absolutely. He's John Strickland. I'm Chris Phillips. We appreciate you guys tuning in, and we'll catch you next time on an episode of the Spurs Up Show.